everybody is anxiously waiting what the coming days will bring, and in this conflict. So, do you believe that things are going towards negotiations, despite of all of this escalation and statements, or do you think that there's going to be more escalation militarily?
Thank you so much for having me. Regrettably, there is almost a 50-50 chance for one way or the other. I personally believe that we are going to find a way for the negotiations to continue. That is my belief. I know that diplomacy is hard at work behind the scenes right now, that our mediators are in touch with both sides and working to cement the off ramp. The challenge, of course, is that both the Iranians and President Trump are taking public maximalist positions. Unfortunately for President Trump, his are being disproved almost immediately by the Iranians. Therefore, what he says is getting increasingly less credibility. We'll see what the markets do on Monday, even if something positive comes out. The Iranians, of course, are taking a huge chance of overplaying their hand. If indeed the president decides to go back to a hot war, this will be devastating for their infrastructure on top of the hundreds of millions of dollars they are losing every day with the blockade.
When you say they're overplaying their cards, uh, so don't you believe that this represents a burden on those who are making the decisions to justify any concession in front of the Iranian people, or even those who share the power in Iran?
Absolutely. Both the Iranian leaders and President Trump have this domestic pressure. For Iran, it is increasingly clear that there are schisms, cracks in what direction the leadership, such as it is, would like to go. By having competing statements from the foreign ministry and the IRGC about is a strait open or is a strait closed, that was a very visible disconnect within the leadership. It's understandable for them to try and communicate to meet. While the Israelis are quite capable of carrying out additional assassinations, is very difficult. So that means communication is faulty. On the American side, the United States Americans do not support this war. Majority still do not support the war, are uncertain about its aims and goals, and don't believe it's going well. A majority of Americans do not support bombing Iran again. This is not as acute as on the Iranian side, but it is something that President Trump, because of politics, because elections are coming up, he has to take that into account and he needs to find an off ramp. There's no doubt about that at this time. His timeline has not been borne out. He said up to 4 to 6 weeks. We're beyond that now. His statement that Iranian missiles are gone, the army's gone, the navy's gone, they can't do anything, has not been borne out. And of course, the world's economies are being damaged by the Strait of Hormuz being closed. And the blockade at this time, since the Iranians won't open it as long as the blockade is going on, is or may be counterproductive.
Ambassador, you spoke about the contradictions and the Iranian statements. The foreign minister announces the strait is open, and then he is criticized from the IRGC and the, the hardline groups and the IRGC. Now, the question everybody is asking, these disagreements, how can the international community trust any statements by the Iranians? And even if there are any negotiations or treaties or agreements that can be reached between Iran or any other party in the world, whether America or any other country, how can the world build this trust while we hear all these contradictions and these statements, or between what they say and what they do?
Well, you're absolutely right, sir, about that. And this is an issue, unfortunately, that's on both sides. Keeping in mind that the United States entered into negotiations twice with the Iranians and bombed them in the middle of those negotiations. So the Iranians don't trust us. We have a long history, longer than the 47 years that the president points to, of not having trust for Iran. And of course, Iran's neighbors are in the same position. And what the United States cannot do is leave Iran in a strong position and the ability and willingness we see to threaten its neighbors. So a ironclad, tight agreement that can be verified has to be put in place. The question is, does it come from threatening behavior, bullying? They gave in, they accepted all of our demands, they conceded, they submitted. Are these sorts of statements from the U.S. going to help us get where the U.S., Iran, the region, and the world need us to be? I would argue that diplomacy is not based on bullying statements and that they are proving counterproductive. If you don't leave space for concessions without humiliating the other side, it's difficult to get those. This is a basic tenet.
Ambassador, that's all the time we have. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank
Always
you so
a pleasure.
much. Thank you.
Take good care.
All right, you too. Hang in there.
Bye-bye.